What's up, guys? Are you ready for this week's Sunday sermon? First of all, happy June. Happy June 1st. I find it surprising that it's already the sixth month. We're already almost halfway through the year. I don't know what happened. I don't know where April, May, or June went, or not June, but you know what I mean. March, April, or May. Are you ready for today's sermon? Because I'm going to warn you right now that today's Sunday sermon is going to hurt some feelings. Is going to hurt some feelings. Probably my own. But it's going to hurt some feelings. Like, to the point I already warned my moderator team that this week's sermon is going to hurt some feelings. Are you ready for the topic? This week's Sunday sermon is titled, If You Want to, You Will. If you want to, you will. June is an interesting month. June is always that month where it's not quite too hot for summer yet, but it's not cold. You know, it's not winter and it's not spring. This is the end of spring. This is the end of a period of growth. We're moving into summer. Summer is the main time of all the work getting done for the remainder of the year. And one of the things that has kept coming up over this last week, I cannot tell you how many times I have said to someone this week, if you want to, you will. If they wanted to, they would. If he wanted to or she wanted to, they would. So I felt like this was a great sermon for today. And I actually have a few things that I brought with me that I'm going to show you during today's sermon. The first thing that I want to talk about is complacency. And I know some of you guys went, how many of you, when I said complacency, went, we don't want to talk about that? We go through life. As kids, we see and hear all the time, even if we don't have a parent that has told us this. We hear it in school, we see it on TV. We're told we can do anything we want. You can do anything you want. But as we get older, as we get towards college, how many of us leave that powerful passion we had as a kid to do something and we tame it down in favor of a relationship. We tame it down in favor of staying close to our family. We tame it down in the effort to have that American dream of a house and a picket fence and a dog and 2.5 kids. I did. I left college to get married and have a kid. I left a lucrative career to get married again. And while I was married again, I left 2 other lucrative careers because of family, because of kids, because that's what I had chosen to do. I got complacent. So life becomes good enough. It's good enough. Yeah, I have a house that I like. I have good kids. I have a car that I like and a job that's okay. It's good enough. So we get complacent. But let me tell you this, good enough is the enemy of greatness. It is the enemy of your goals. It's the enemy of your dreams. It's the enemy of your aspirations. It's the enemy of every single dream you had as a kid. I don't care how outrageous that dream was. Good enough is the enemy of your own free will. Good enough is that sneaky ass ninja that comes in from behind. You don't see him. You don't hear him. You don't even know they're there, whispering in your ear continually. Good enough is the killer of hopes and dreams and goals and that childhood aspiration inside of you. Do you know what I wanted to be from the time I can remember? I wanted to be an astronaut. Am I an astronaut? No. I also wanted to be a writer. I did become a writer. I've been a pretty successful writer. But that dream of being an astronaut has still stuck with me, and I still regret that I didn't do that because I got complacent. Comfort is numbing. Comfort numbs our ambition. Comfort numbs our spirit because it's just that warm blanket. We all want the warm blanket. We all want the fuzzy, warm blanket of good enough, of comfort. Our favorite sweatpants on a Friday night with some chips and queso, watching Netflix with the bestie or with the significant other. Because our life is good enough. It's good enough. When you stop moving, you stop evolving. When you stop moving, you stop evolving. So if you're wrapped up in that wonderful blanket because everything is good enough, you're complacent and you've stopped moving. If you want to, you will. He who is not courageous enough to take risks will accomplish nothing in life. It's Muhammad Ali. I'm going to say that again because I want you to really listen to it, and I want this to be the start of some really serious shadow work for everybody that listens to this. He who is not courageous enough to take risks will accomplish nothing in life. If you truly want something, your soul will burn for it. Your soul will think of nothing else but that thing. And some of you will say, oh, my soul burns for so-and-so. I'm not talking about another person. I'm talking about the goals and the dreams and the hopes that you have always held deep in here, the ones that you had as a kid, the things you wanted to be, the things you want to do, the places you want to see. I don't care about another person. I don't care about your childhood dream of being with your first grade sweetheart. We're not talking about that shit. If you truly want something, if you truly want your manifestations, your goals, the things you want to accomplish in this life while you're in this meat sack, if you truly want those things, your soul will burn for it and you will never get it out of your mind. Want becomes will, will becomes power, power becomes the way to do that thing. And you know, everybody, every single one of us knows somebody, whether we were a kid, whether we were a teenager, whether we're an adult, whatever. We have known somebody that it just seems like the whole world lines up for them to do something. It just seems like every single thing that they say to the universe, I want this, I want this, I want this, boom, 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 boom. It just falls in line for them, right? It looks easy. And so we make excuses. They're lucky. They had that handed to them. They must have grown up with, money. How many times have we made excuses to dim down someone else's accomplishments because it bothered us to see someone else succeed? How many times have you heard or have you even said, we've all said it, so nobody can really say they haven't ever said it. How many times have you made an excuse for yourself but blamed it on someone else? Because that's exactly what you're doing. It's exactly what we all do. The universe will move mountains for someone that has that fire, that passion, that soul's yearning to do something. There's a quote from Paulo Coelho, and I'm probably saying his last name wrong, in a book called The Alchemist. This is a really old book. When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you achieve it. The universe is not against you. Listen to me again. The universe is not against you. When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you achieve it. Do you know who is against you? You. Do you know who does work against you the most? You. You will become as small as your controlling desire, as great as your dominant aspiration. It's a quote by James Allen. I want to say that one again because that one's really, really deep and I want you to really listen to it. And I know some of you have probably already been like, I don't want to hear this. And that's fine. You're not ready to hear it. That's fine. You will become as small as your controlling desire. What is your controlling desire? Comfort? A toxic relationship? A job you hate? As great as your dominant aspiration. You will become as small as your controlling desire, as great as your dominant aspiration. So if that's the case, then why do most people not achieve their dreams? Why do most people not achieve their goals, their hopes? Why do people not travel the world? Why do they not move to California and become an actor? Why do they not move to New York and start a business? Why do they stay complacent? Why? Because we have been programmed to stop at the first sign of resistance. You're going to school, somebody screws up some paperwork, and your financial aid gets messed up. Well, I guess I'm just not supposed to go to school. Rejection is protection, right? I guess that I could pay that off in a couple years and go back to school then, right? At the first sign of resistance, people stop. People stop. You confuse struggle with failure. You confuse discomfort with that path is doomed. You confuse just a little bit of pushback with the universe doesn't want me to do that. Opportunities multiply as they are seized. That's a quote from The Art of War. Opportunities multiply as they are seized. When you start seizing opportunities, they actually multiply. Because remember when I said, when you want something, all the universe conspires to help you achieve it? So if you start grabbing the opportunities that the universe is giving you, the universe is going to go, oh, this one sees. And it's going to give you more opportunities to achieve the things you want to achieve. Now, here's the other thing that stops people in their tracks. Are you ready? They lack the vision to see beyond the obstacle that was just set in their way. Have you guys ever watched football? I used to be a huge Dallas Cowboys football fan from the time I was a kid. It was programmed into me. Say what you want to say, I don't care. But have you ever watched somebody who runs the ball? Not the one that throws it, not where the ball goes. Have you ever watched somebody that is just magic when they get the ball in their hands and they shift and pivot and shift and pivot and shift and pivot and turn and twist and shift and pivot until they get where they're wanting to go? Have you ever watched a ballet? Have you ever watched a ballet? Have you ever watched ballerinas train? You don't just come out of the womb knowing how to stand on your toes and how to hold that perfect form. You fall a lot. I did ballet when I was little too. You fall a lot. It hurts. And a lot of people stop because it hurts to fall. No one wants to fall. No one wants to fail. No one wants to get hurt. You fall a few times and maybe this isn't for me. Or maybe you lack the vision to see beyond the obstacle that was just put in your path. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. It's Marcus Aurelius. What stands in the way becomes the way. Remember when we talked about that person that seems to be able to just do whatever it is they want to do? They say something and the universe brings it to them and it just looks easy. It looks like cakewalk. Because they're seizing the opportunities. And when they have an obstacle, when they have something that stands in their way, they shift and they pivot and they continue to go. They use that obstacle as a springboard. The problem with the obstacle is not the obstacle. The problem with the obstacle is our mindset. And this is where a lot of y'all are going to have your feelings really, really hurt. Probably mine included lately. But this is where we're all going to have our feelers hurt by the words coming out of my face. Are you ready? You have to overcome your own mind. You have to overcome your own mind, because when you're complacent, when you're just wrapped in that wonderful little warm blanket with your chips and queso watching Netflix and that's your nightly ritual, you become complacent. When you become complacent, your mind gets really, really mushy. Do you know why monks train and train and train and train and train? Do you know why they go through rigorous schedules of meditation, of prayer? Do you know why martial artists go through tons and tons, years and years, decades and decades of training? Do you? Is it so they can jump kick some 7-foot tall guy in the head? Is it so they can move water with their mind? No. Self-mastery is the key to success. That's a Bodhi quote. And I brought a couple of things to show you. Last year, I found these. And y'all have seen me wear these, okay? And if you've been watching me for a while, then you've seen them start to get a little discolored. See how they're starting to get a little black? I've only had these maybe a year. These are called Bodhi beads. This is a traditional mala. And if you notice, some of the beads are still pretty tan, and some of them are getting pretty discolored, right? Do you notice that I have some around my neck? The ones I have around my neck are about 15 years old. I want you to notice the difference. Look how tiny these are. Look how compacted these are. Look how smooth these are. Because these were worn by somebody who was a practicing Buddhist monk for over 15 years. On a daily basis, they were used in meditation. They were used in prayer. They were used in self-mastery. I don't wear them very often, but I felt they were very, very fitting for today. You have to start shifting your identity from this to this. Look at the difference. They're the same thing. They're both Bodhi beads from the Bodhi tree. They started off the same way. But one was worked and utilized and mastered, and one is still becoming. You have to start shifting your identity from someone that's trying to do something to someone becoming something else. What are you becoming? A couch potato? Or are you becoming an astronaut? Are you just a worker bee in the cog? Or are you a soul traveler? You have to train your own resilience to problems, to obstacles, just like you would train your muscles to move you forward. And I know a lot of you are like, well, I don't really have any muscles. Me either. But a lot of you guys ask me all the time, don't your arms get tired? When I'm doing Reiki for an hour twice a week, don't your arms get tired? Because it's not the sweet little calm Reiki that everyone else does. I've been doing it for 5 years straight. as of last month, over 5 years, at least twice a week. And at first, yeah, my arms got tired. They were jello. I almost couldn't move them the next morning. They would hurt so bad. But I didn't stop. I didn't stop. Because I saw the difference it was making in other people. And then I started to see the difference it was making in me, which made me even more determined to continue doing it. I went from struggling to have 10 viewers over the entire live stream to having almost 80,000 sometimes. Think about that. How many concerts have you been to that didn't even have 80,000 people in them? Because I could see that, yeah, my arms hurt. Yeah, my arms were rubber. Yeah, my arms were going to fall completely off. I saw that as an obstacle, as a training exercise to get over. Just because my arms were tired, I didn't quit. I didn't stop. You need to reconnect to the why of what it is that you want. The why of what goal it is you're wanting to attain. The why of why you no longer want to be complacent. And you have to have a serious talk with yourself about being complacent. Because we all fall into that really hardcore. We want to take the path of least resistance, and that is good enough. Right? The path of least resistance is always that good enough path. Unfortunately, a lot of people cannot wrap their mind around how to go from this is happening to me to I own this shit. They can't wrap their mind around, well, I'm trying to be better, to I'm becoming better on a moment-to-moment basis. They let that complacency beat them down so much that good enough becomes their goal. Where in your life have you let good enough become your goal? Where in your life lately has there been a little obstacle that popped up and you, for some reason, you couldn't see around it? Everything was ruined. You can't go any further because you couldn't see how to shift and pivot and move. Where have you let an obstacle pull you back over into the good enough? Just barely making it. So what do you do to fix it? Self-mastery is a huge, huge aspect of life. Yes, we talk about it in spiritual realms. Yes, we talk about it in different cultures. Every single culture talks about it. Self-mastery is the key to being able to get out of complacency. The first and greatest victory to conquer is yourself. Plato. If you can't conquer yourself, if you can't conquer your emotions, if you can't conquer your reactions to things, if you cannot sit down and have a talk with yourself, bitch, you're acting wrong. Dude, you got to get up off the couch. Dude, you got to do this. You can't stay in this job forever. Dude, you can't live here forever. Dude, do you see what I'm saying? If you can't get yourself out of that mindset, then how do you expect to conquer mountains? How do you expect to travel the world? How do you expect to have this amazing business? How do you expect to do anything but be complacent and strive for just good enough? You have the power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. It's another Marcus Aurelius quote. And I want to put that first part again. I want you to really, really listen to it, okay? You have the power over your mind, not outside events. The only thing that you can control in this life is you. The only thing that you can control in a situation is your emotions and how you react to that situation. You can't control someone else. You can't control your job. You can't control the economy. You can't control any outside force at all. The only thing that you can control is you. But people forget that. How many times have you said, because I've said it, they made me blah, blah, blah. They made me so angry. They made me act out. They made me do this. How many times have you said that? We've all said it. So I don't want to hear anybody sit there and go, I've never said that. You're a liar because we've all said it. They made me do this. No, they didn't. What they did was they triggered something in you and you let yourself react that way. You have the power over your mind, not outside of it. I want to show you guys something. At a time in my life where I felt like every single thing was crumbling around me, I felt like anything at all that I wanted to do going forward didn't matter. I felt like if I could just have the good enough that I'd be okay. We've all been there. I went through a phase where good enough felt out of my reach, where struggle felt like all I was going to have. But I knew that struggle was not what I wanted, and I knew that struggle was just temporary. I knew that all of the things I was going through were temporary. But even though the universe sometimes will absolutely demolish everything around you, and you think that it's because you did something wrong, you think that you made a mistake and you start to overthink everything because your mind runs rampant, because you were used to that good enough, to that complacent aspect. And at that time in my life, I was facing my own self, hardcore, of I'm not sure I want to be here anymore. I don't think I want to be here anymore. Why would I want to be here if my existence causes this much problems for other people? And then I had this moment of severe clarity. And I realized that me being here wasn't the cause of someone else's suffering. Me being here wasn't the cause of someone else's pain. Me being here was not the cause of anyone else's problems. Period. Their problems are their problems. Their emotions are their emotions. Their reactions are their fucking reactions. Not mine. And I found a really interesting symbol. And when I first found it, I thought, man, that looks really cool, right? Looks really cool. And it's a modern bind rune. And it's called the Mark of the Blacksmith. I'm going to show it to you in just a minute. But before I show it to you, I want to tell you what it is and why when I saw it, I was like, oh, wow. It hit me in a way that I hadn't been hit by a symbol before. I've seen all kinds of magical symbols. I've studied this shit since I was 18, 19 years old. I have studied King Solomon. I've studied the Bible. I've studied Crowley. I've studied everything in between. I've studied it. I've seen the symbols. Some of them I've been like, wow, that's some magical shit right there. But this hit me in a way that I didn't expect it to hit me. The Mark of the Blacksmith is a bind rune that was created by an actual real life blacksmith. His name is, I'm gonna totally mess up his last name. His name is Jordan Borlsman, Borstellmann. But he owns a workshop called the Crooked Path Forge. He created this not just as a bind rune, not just as a mark, but I want you to hear the words. Are you ready? As a soul stamp. Let that sink in for a minute. It's not just a mark. It's not just a bind rune. It's not just a bunch of things put together. It's a soul stamp. It's a sigil of transformation. It's a sigil, it's a mark, it's a bind rune that was forged in literal fire, in sweat, in willpower, in metal, in the most intense conditions possible. If you guys have ever watched anything at all about blacksmithing, that is some of the hardest work that someone could ever do. It belongs to everybody. He gifted it to everybody, not just kept it for himself. He gifted it to everybody. And it means that you are not complacent to just follow what fate has in store for you. That you are not just complacent to be good enough. That you are not just complacent to struggle. It is the mark, the soul stamp for someone that is daring to forge their own destiny, to snub their nose at divine will or destiny or fate and say, I am doing this. I am going here. I am accomplishing this. I'm writing this book. I'm climbing this mountain. And if you guys have watched me for any length of time, you've seen it. Because I have it tattooed right there on the arm that I give out with. I placed it there for a reason. A, so I would see it all the time. And B, so when I was doing Reiki sessions, I am giving this energy out. This is what it looks like. This is a mark for people that don't want to sit still and be fucking complacent. This is a mark for somebody that is willing to master themselves. It is a mark for somebody that is willing to say they no longer want to just be in the good enough phase of life. It's creation through discipline and will and the force of your own personal power. It's resilience, it's refinement. And I want you guys to think about how the most strong swords, katanas, samurai swords, broadswords, how they're forged. One little mistake, one little imperfection, and it can break, right? You can be in the midst of battle and your sword break because it wasn't perfected. The same thing goes for your own will, for your own ability to move forward. And this is why a lot of people get complacent. They see that one little imperfection and they say, well, it's good enough. As long as I don't push it too far, that sword's not going to break. As long as I don't push it too hard, it'll be okay. I can always sharpen it and polish it. No one will see that blemish. Instead of melting it down and redoing it to make sure that everything is as it needs to be. Good enough is going along with the crowd. Good enough is just being okay with being told what to do. Good enough is just sitting back while things happen around you. Good enough is checking out on the couch every weekend. Good enough is just sitting in a little house in the suburbs that you really kind of don't like. It's too small, but you stay there because if you wanted to move somewhere else, you would have to get a raise. You would have to move up in your job. You would have to do things and sacrifice and give things up to be able to move somewhere better. But your job's okay. It's good enough. How much in here are you willing to master to reach that goal, to reach that dream, to reach that destiny that you want for yourself? I want you to really think about that. And you know what's really funny? This whole sermon today, even though I warned everybody, I was like, hey, this is going to hurt some feels. Because unfortunately, there are people that are going to hear this and it's going to resonate with them hardcore and it's going to change them for a little bit. And they're really going to, I'm going to have self-discipline and I'm going to move forward. I'm going to do the things. And then after a few days, they start to get right back into the good enough. There are so many people that while they really, really needed to hear these things, they're not going to take these things and move forward with them. And I'm not saying that for you guys to be like, oh, that makes me sad. You don't control their path. You don't control their emotions. You don't control their goals, their dreams, their hopes, their version of good enough. You control you. And you have to ask you if you are ready to master you. There's a lot of yous in there. The reason that I wanted to bring this up is mainly a pep talk for me. I'm not going to lie. I'm purely being selfish today. And me being able to talk to you guys about something that my ass needed to hear. And I know some of you guys are like, well, wait, like you do this and this and this and this. Do you guys know why I work the way I work and why I've worked the way I've worked for so long? First, it was literally just to prove a few people wrong. It was literally the middle finger to a lot of people that said, oh, you can't do that. Watch me do it. 4 times. But I've been manifesting something massive. I've been manifesting something massive that isn't just something that, well, I can work really hard this year and I can buy myself a newer car. It's not that. I've been manifesting something massive. And this last week, there was a little bit of the universe throwing something at me that was like, well, if this happens, then what are you going to do? And don't get me wrong, I was pissed. I was pissed. I was so mad. But I let myself be mad for about 5 minutes, which is a long time of being mad for me, for about 5 minutes. I fully was just angry. I let myself feel the anger because I knew it was frustration. It wasn't really anger. It was frustration. I let myself feel that frustration. I let myself feel the anger. I let myself feel the disappointment. And then I said, all right, if I have to shift and pivot, where am I shifting pivot? Where am I moving to? If this path says no, or there's a massive speed bump that I can't climb over, okay, how do I get around that speed bump? How do I use that speed bump as a fucking springboard to continue moving forward? So I started getting ready to shift and pivot, shift and pivot. Because I have learned over my life, and thankfully I had parents that showed me this as well. When something happens, you shift and fucking pivot. But you guys have heard it more of when one door closes, another one opens. We have all heard that. When one door closes, another one opens. I have personally found that's not always the case. However, sometimes you can shift and pivot and go through the window or run right through the fucking wall. A warrior does not give up what he loves. He finds the love in what he does. Think about that. Did you give up a dream job for something else? Did you give up your path of becoming this or this or this for something else? Did you give up something that you really, really loved for complacency? Did you give up that fire, that drive, that passion that you had as a kid, as a teenager for something else? For complacency? For good enough? I'm going to say one more thing. If you want to, you will. If you want to, you will. You won't be afraid of the struggle. You won't be afraid of all of the fires that you have to walk to and walk through and walk past to become what it is you want to become. If you want to, you will. So right now, in this moment, you have to make a promise to yourself that no longer are you going to use the excuse, well, I can do it. I can do it next week or next semester or next year. I don't really have time to, read for 30 minutes a day. I don't really have time to do this or this. If you want to, you will. If you want to become more, you will. You want to become a spiritual powerhouse? You will take the time to learn, because that's the only way you do. I have a lot of people that tell me all the time, oh, you have my dream life, you have my dream job. What's holding you back from getting it? What's holding you back from walking the path you want to walk? If you want to, you will. And that needs to be a really, really deep question that we all ask ourselves the rest of this week. This is the first week of June. We're about to head into summer. We're at the end of spring, of that rebirth season. This is the perfect time for you to sit and think for a little bit today. Meditate for a little bit. If you want to, you will. I have faith in you. I know that you don't want to just be complacent. You don't want to just be good enough. I will never be just good enough. You need to be your first choice, not your last choice. I hope that this gives you guys some things to think about today. I have faith in you. I know you can do it. And if I have faith in you without ever seeing your face, then why don't you have faith in you? You see your face every day. If you want to, you will.